Hey everybody, and Tony here, and as a further contribution to the Red Ribbon Reviewers, I'll be reviewing the 1946 Christmas classic It's a Wonderful Life, which was shown at the Cineplex movie theaters in Yonge Dundas. The film was directed, written, and produced by Frank Capra. It was co-written by Francis Goodrich, Albert Hackett, and Joe Swirling. It was based on the short story called The Greatest Gift, which was by Philip Van Doren Stern, and it starred James Stewart, Donna Reed, Lionel Barrymore, and Henry Travers. Now, I have something to admit right here, folks. I never saw It's a Wonderful Life ever since I was a kid. Though I did see the various homages of this film based on a lot of the cartoons, anime, movies, and TV shows that I watched. Some of those examples were the following, like that episode in Rugrats in which Chucky wishes that he was gone, and his guardian angel, who also looks uncannily like Chucky, shows him what it's like if the babies did not have him around or if the parents didn't have him around. And then you had probably the worst example of the trope of this homage was definitely It's a Wishful Life. Let me just say this right now. I hated that episode because, yes, I understand it's trying to be like It's a Wonderful Life, but I found it way too mean spirited. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about It's a Wonderful Life. And interestingly enough, I did see some clips in both of the Home Alone movies. In the first one, it was shown in French when the McAllister family, excluding Kevin, were in Paris and had no choice but to watch it. And then again in Miami, Florida, in Home Alone 2, in which they watched it in Spanish for some reason. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get on with the review and find out what made this film such a huge influence in pop culture and, of course, the creative media in general. Now, story-wise, the concept of a character who wishes that he never existed and his guardian angel showing what it's like is actually very innovative for the time. And the concept for it was just really fresh for the time. And it just shows that nobody else has done this. Granted, there may have been homages, but in terms of having such an original concept, they really pulled all the stops with this one. And it doesn't go fast with its storytelling. It gives us time to get to know the characters better, the situations that they get themselves into, and the trials that they have to face, especially without George. So yes, the story was well paced, well written, and for the time, it was very innovative. The cinematography was very solid as well. Granted, when looking back at it, it's the 1940s. You will see that there are some effects, there are some like shots that do feel dated for the time, but still the cinematography still manages to be very good all around. The music also is great in my view. There are times that the music manages to heighten how each of the characters feel. And I also liked it that George's and Mary's eldest daughter played Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I thought that was just wonderful. I mean, she was practicing it, but I found it really cute. So the music was just great all around. But the bread and butter for this film definitely has to be the characters, especially the characters of George, Mr. Potter, Clarence, and Mary. Now, let's start with George. Now, throughout the film, we see George grow up from being a kid to being a young adult male and from being a full grown adult. Now, as a kid, he had a lot of aspirations in life, and because of that, he has a lot of like vivid imaginations of traveling around the world, meeting new people, and all that type of stuff, and getting rich. And then when he grows up, he does get financially well, though he is quite in a little bit of a sticky situation in terms of finance, and kind of also has to help his uncle regain their company well if they were to survive. And then he gets married to the love of his life, his childhood sweetheart, none other than Mary, who both of them started out as friends and then realized that they had feelings for each other. And when he goes through these tough times in terms of finance, in terms of trying to get a loan, you kind of feel sorry for him. And when you see that he ended up wishing that he was gone, you realize, oh my goodness, shit just got real. You kind of really feel sorry for this character. But still, he has a lot of charm and he has a lot of different facets that makes him interesting as a character. He may be he may be hot-headed. He may be impulsive, but he's still a very likable character that really makes us feel so charmed with him. And then we have Mr. Potter. Yes, the corrupt, greedy businessman who wants to get all the money for pretty much get the money for himself and pretty much tries to make George's life and that of the Bailey family's life a living hell. He's quite fascinating as a villain, but we don't know what really made him be that way. But still, every moment you see him on screen, you kind of have this sense of being uncomfortable. As if though that you kind of realize that when you see him, you realize that you shouldn't even be allowed to breathe yet, or not ever. But still, his presence on screen is absolutely great, and I understand why he was listed as one of the great villains of this film. And then we have Clarence, my personal favorite character in this movie. Now, Clarence serves as the only sane man to George's like um, wild raving is to seeing if anybody will remember him. Clarence is actually quite fun as a character because he's not only serving to be a commentator of how um, foolish George's wish was, but he also has a lot of great and funny lines that just makes me have a huge smile on my face. Now, Mary, now, she's absolutely great as well. I actually like her as a character too because, well, she's smart, she has a tendency to be quite snarky, but still, she's absolutely fantastic as a character as well. In fact, this movie is so full of likable, colorful, and very interesting characters. And this is all thanks to the phenomenal acting from James Stewart, Lionel Barrymore, Donna Reed, and Henry Travers. Now, Henry Travers definitely stole the show for me. The same thing can be said about James Stewart. I felt that their chemistry really worked. The way that they bantered with each other, the way that they would work off with each other was just believable. So overall, It's a Wonderful Life truly is one of the great Christmas classics that I've ever seen. Now, before Miracle on 34th Street, before Die Hard, and before Home Alone, there was It's a Wonderful Life. And with that said, I give this film a well-deserved 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, I could have rated it a little bit higher, but there were some issues with how the villain got his just desserts, but still, it was okay. It was very satisfying all throughout. There were no moments in which I felt bored, and it was just fantastic. It's a well-deserved Christmas classic. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in later in which I look at two Rugrats Christmas specials that I saw earlier this morning on YTV. Maybe I might end up reviewing it later. Maybe I might end up reviewing it probably tomorrow. We'll see. Until then, this is Antoni signing off, and